The alien recruits refused to train with her, until one barehanded block split the floor. Part 1. The transport ship landed on Station 7 with a soft hiss, stepped out and looked around at the massive training facility. She was 34 years old, a sergeant major from Earth's military, and she was the first human to ever train at the Galactic Coalition Military Academy. Alien recruits of all shapes and sizes stopped to stare at her. Some were tall and covered in thick armor-like skin. Others had 4 arms or glowing eyes. A few whispered to each other in languages she could not understand, kept her back straight and walked forward. She had faced worse than curious stares. A large creature approached her. He stood almost 3 meters tall, with gray armored plates covering his body and deep scars across his face. His name was, and he was the senior instructor for Epsilon Cohort. "You are the human," said. It was not a question. "Sergeant Major," she replied, "reporting for training." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Training, yes, we will see about that." He led her through the station to a large room where other recruits were gathered, counted 12 aliens in total. There were 3 massive and armored. There were 4 tall and thin with 4 arms each and skin that shimmered like oil on water. There were also 5 smaller creatures who always moved in pairs and seemed to communicate without speaking. "This is Epsilon Cohort," announced. "The human will be joining you." The recruits looked at with expressions ranging from curiosity to open disgust. A young female stepped closer and studied her with bright yellow eyes. "She is so small," they said, "and soft. Where is her armor? Where are her weapons?" "Humans do not have natural armor," explained. "Their bones are weak, their skin tears easily, they are fragile." Felt her jaw tighten but said nothing. She had learned long ago that actions spoke louder than words. The first week was difficult. Refused to let join the combat drills. Instead, he assigned her to equipment maintenance and observation duties. She watched from the sidelines as her cohort mates trained with powered exoskeletons, energy shields, and weapons that could cut through steel. "It is for your own safety," told her when she complained. "If you train with them, you will die. If they hold back to protect you, they will not learn properly. Either way, everyone loses." Did not give up. She requested permission to train every single day. After 2 weeks, finally agreed to let her spar, but only with training drones set to their lowest power level. It was like fighting children's toys. The other recruits avoided her completely. During meal times, they sat at different tables. During rest periods, they found reasons to be elsewhere. Only the young, whose name was ever spoke to her directly. "I am sorry," said one evening. "It is not personal, but if we hurt you, we face punishment. If you hurt us, well, no one believes that is possible. Training with you is a problem with no good solution." Nodded slowly. "I understand, but I did not come here to be protected. I came here to fight." Tilted her head. "Why? Your species has only been part of the coalition for a few years. You could have stayed on Earth, lived a comfortable life. Why come here to be treated like this?" Thought about the question carefully. Because if humans are going to survive in this galaxy, we need to prove ourselves. Not just to you, to everyone. And I cannot do that by hiding in a corner. The studied her for a long moment. "You are strange, human, but I think I understand." Things changed during the 3rd week. The cohort was running a live fire exercise in the main training hall. Stood at the edge, watching as always. The recruits were fighting against combat mechs, large robot machines designed to simulate enemy soldiers. The mechs were dangerous even with safety limiters in place. I was in the middle of the exercise when something went wrong. Her mech made a strange grinding noise, and its eyes flickered from blue to red. The safety limiters had failed. The mech raised its arm to strike. Tried to activate her shield, but her generator sputtered and died. She stood frozen, her 4 arms raised in a useless defensive posture. Did not think, she simply moved. She crossed the training floor faster than anyone thought possible for a human. She slammed into pushing her out of the mech's path. They both hit the ground and rolled. Was back on her feet in an instant. The mech turned toward her. It was twice her size, made of metal and powered by systems that could crush stone. Had no armor, no shield, no weapon. She had only her body and 30 years of training. The mech swung its massive arm at her head. Did not dodge. She stepped forward into the blow. She raised her forearm at a precise angle and met the metal arm with her bare flesh. The impact was like thunder. Cracks spread across the training floor in a spiderweb pattern, reaching out 3 meters in every direction. The mech's arm joint shattered, spraying broken metal across the room. The machine stumbled backward, its arm hanging useless. Stood in the center of the crater she had created. Her forearm was unmarked. She was breathing hard, but she was not hurt. The entire training hall had gone silent. Every recruit, every instructor, every observer had stopped to stare. Even who had seen 1,000 battles seemed frozen in place. Picked herself up from the ground. Her yellow eyes were wide with shock. How are you not dead? Looked down at her own arm as if seeing it for the first time. Honestly, I am a little surprised myself. I have never hit anything that hard before. Walked slowly toward her. His heavy feet crunched on the broken floor. He reached out and touched his forearm, then looked at the destroyed mech, then at the crater. Human, he said quietly, explain what I just witnessed. Flexed her hand, feeling the familiar warmth in her muscles. On Earth, we have a saying, the body is a weapon. Some of us spend our whole lives learning what that really means. Was silent for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice carried something new, something that sounded almost like respect. Tomorrow's training schedule is canceled, he announced to the cohort. Sergeant Major will be leading a special session on combat techniques. Attendance is mandatory. The recruits looked at each other with expressions of fear and fascination, allowed herself a small smile. Finally, they were ready to listen. The alien recruits refused to train with her, until one barehanded block split the floor. Part 2. 3 weeks passed after cracked the training floor. Everything at the academy was different now. Her combat sessions had become the most popular events on the station. Recruits from other cohorts came to watch. Instructors from different departments stood in the observation galleries. Even off-duty workers found excuses to stop by and see the human teach aliens how to fight. Stood in the center of the training hall, surrounded by the members of Epsilon cohort. They no longer avoided her. They no longer looked at her with pity or disgust. Now they looked at her with something else, curiosity, respect, and perhaps a little fear. The problem with your training, said, is that you have forgotten what your bodies can do. You rely on your armor. You trust your shields. You depend on your weapons. But what happens when those things fail? She pointed at one of the recruits, a young male named, You, attack me. Hesitated. He was twice size, covered in natural armor that could stop bullets. I do not want to hurt you. You will not hurt me, said, but you might learn something, attack. Charged at her. He was fast for his size, and his armored fist could break bones with a single blow, but moved like water. She stepped aside at the last moment, placed her hand on his arm and redirected his momentum. Stumbled past her and nearly fell. Your armor is heavy, explained. It protects you, but it also slows your reactions. When an enemy gets inside your guard, your armor becomes a prison. You cannot move fast enough to respond. She spent the next hour teaching how to use his weight differently, how to turn his size into an advantage instead of a weakness, how to fight from his center instead of swinging wildly with his arms. After she worked with that had 4 arms, which should have made her deadly in close combat, but she had been trained to use them separately, 2 arms for attack, 2 for defense. It made her predictable. Your arms are not 4 separate weapons, told her. They are one system, Watch. She demonstrated a flowing pattern of movements, using her own 2 arms to simulate what it could do with 4. Strike, block, grab, push, all at the same time, all working together like parts of a single machine. I practiced the movement slowly at first, then faster. Her yellow eyes grew bright with excitement. I never thought of it this way. My instructors always told me to compartmentalize. Your instructors were wrong, said. You are not a machine with separate parts. You are one being, fight like one. The twins were the hardest to teach. They relied on their telepathic connection so completely that they could not fight as individuals. If one was separated from the other, both became almost useless. Made them train with their connection blocked. It was frustrating for them. They stumbled, missed targets, and grew angry. But slowly, they began to develop their own instincts. They learned to trust their own eyes and ears instead of waiting for mental messages from their partner. The connection is a gift, told them, but it should make you stronger, not dependent. What happens if your enemy can block telepathy? What happens if one of you is knocked unconscious? You need to be able to fight alone before you can truly fight together. Day by day, Epsilon cohort improved. They began training together, truly together with at the center. For the first time, they felt like a real unit. Then Admiral arrived. The Admiral came from one of the founding species of the Coalition. He was tall and thin, with silver skin and cold black eyes. He had been a soldier once, but now he was a politician. He had come to the Academy to evaluate the human experiment. Knew he was trouble the moment she saw him. Watched her training session from the observation gallery. His expression never changed, but his posture radiated contempt. When the session ended, he walked down to the training floor with slow, deliberate steps. Impressive tricks, he said. His voice was smooth and cold. But the battlefield is not a gymnasium. When the hegemony attacks, and they will attack, will your human teach our soldiers to punch plasma fire? Stepped forward. Admiral, the recruits have shown significant improvement since. Improvement in what? Interrupted. In wrestling, in playing games. He turned to face directly. Humanity was given coalition membership as a political compromise. Many of us believe it was a mistake. Your presence here proves nothing except that you can entertain crowds. Kept her face calm. What would prove something to you, Admiral? Smiled. It was not a friendly expression. A demonstration. You will face our top-ranked combat trainee in a full-contact spar. Standard coalition rules, powered armor, energy shields, combat staffs. If you can survive 5 minutes, I will admit that humans have some value. Looked across the room at a. This yellow eyes met hers with a mixture of fear and determination. A was the top-ranked trainee. They both knew it. I accept, said. That night I came to his quarters. She stood in the doorway, her 4 hands clasped together nervously. I do not want to fight you, she said. You are my teacher, my friend. Poured 2 cups of water and handed one to the. I know, but if we refuse, wins anyway. He will say humans are cowards. He will say I corrupted your training. He will use it to push humanity out of the coalition. Then what do we do? Sat down and looked at her young friend. We fight for real, no holding back. A's eyes widened. But I could kill you, without armor, without shields. Then I will have to make sure you do not, smiled. Besides, I have been training you for weeks. Do you think I did not notice your weaknesses? They made a sound that was almost a laugh. You are either very brave or very foolish. On Earth we call that being human, raised her cup. Get some rest. Tomorrow we show the Admiral what we are made of. A raised her own cup and touched it gently against. May the best warrior win. That is exactly what I am counting on, replied. Neither of them slept much that night. The alien recruits refused to train with her, until one barehanded block split the floor. Part 3. The main arena was filled to capacity. Thousands of aliens sat in the observation galleries, watching the empty fighting floor below. Word had spread across the entire station. Everyone wanted to see the human fight. Walked out onto the arena floor. She wore simple training clothes, loose pants, a tight shirt, flat shoes. No armor, no shield generator, no weapons. The crowd murmured in confusion and concern. Admiral stood in the VIP section with a satisfied smile. He had expected this. Humans were too stubborn to admit their weakness. This one would learn the hard way. Entered from the opposite side. She looked magnificent and terrifying. Her powered armor gleamed under the bright lights. Her shield generator hummed with energy. In 2 of her 4 hands, she carried combat staffs that crackled with electricity. "Final chance to withdraw, human," called out. "No one will think less of you." Did not bother to respond. The referee, a neutral officer from Station Command, stepped forward and announced the rules. Full contact. No killing blows. Victory by submission, knockout, or inability to continue. The match would last until one fighter could not go on. Begin. Moved first. She was fast, faster than had ever seen her. The training had worked. Thus 4 arms blurred through the air, both staffs spinning in complex patterns that created walls of crackling energy. Did not try to attack. She watched, moving backward, staying just out of reach. She studied A's movements, looking for the patterns she knew were there. Every fighter had habits. Every fighter had tells. She just needed to find them. Pressed forward. A staff swept towards legs, jumped over it. Another thrust at her chest. She twisted aside. A 2-armed combination aimed at her head. She ducked and rolled away. The crowd grew restless. They wanted action. They wanted to see the human get hit. Admiral leaned forward in his seat, frowning. "Stop running, human," someone shouted. Ignored them. She was counting in her head, counting A's rhythm, counting the beats between attacks, counting the microseconds when this guard was open. There. She moved forward instead of back. It surprised her, threw off her timing, slipped between the spinning staffs inside the danger zone where the weapons could not reach her. She placed her palm flat against A's chest plate and pushed. The stumbled backward off balance, her shield flickered. The crowd gasped. "You hesitated on the 3rd beat of your combination," said calmly. "Your right arms are half a second slower than your left. You favor attacks to the head because you are tall, and you still do not trust your own instincts." A's yellow eyes narrowed. "You are teaching me even now." "I am always teaching. That is what I do." They attacked again, but differently this time. She was adapting, changing her patterns, fighting the way had taught her, instinctive and unpredictable. Her staffs came from angles did not expect. Her movements were fluid instead of mechanical. Smiled even as she struggled to dodge. This was what she wanted. This was why she had come to this place. A staff caught her in the side. Pain exploded through her ribs. She spun away, gasping, but stayed on her feet. "First blood," the referee announced. Admiral sat back satisfied. Now the human would fall. But did not fall. She breathed through the pain, let it flow through her instead of fighting it. Pain was just information. Pain told you that you were still alive. Pressed her advantage. She swung both staffs in a devastating cross pattern that would have knocked unconscious, but was not there. She had dropped to the ground, sliding under the attack, coming up behind the. Her hand shot out and grabbed the joint of A's armor at the elbow. She squeezed. The armor crumpled like paper. Yelped in surprise. She spun around but was already moving, already behind her again. Another grab. Another section of armor bent and damaged. "Your armor protects you," said, breathing hard, "but it also has weak points. Every piece of technology has weak points. That is why you need to know how to fight without it." Threw off her damaged armor pieces. They clattered to the ground. Now she was faster, lighter, but less protected. She attacked with renewed fury. The battle became something beautiful. Two warriors pushing each other to their limits, blocked and dodged and struck with precise efficiency, a swung and thrust and spun with four-armed grace. They danced across the arena floor, leaving scorch marks and boot prints behind them. The crowd had stopped cheering for one side or the other. They simply watched in awe. Finally, I saw her opening, had stepped wrong, left her guard too low. They brought her staff around in a strike that would end the fight. But at the last moment, she hesitated. She could not bring herself to deliver a blow that might kill her friend. Moved inside her guard, one hand on A's shoulder, one hand poised at her throat. Match over, the referee announced. Victory to the human. The arena erupted. Some cheered, some protested. Admiral sat frozen in his seat, his cold black eyes wide with disbelief. Lowered her hand and stepped back. She and I stood face to face, both breathing hard, both bruised and exhausted. "You let me win," said quietly. "No," I replied. "I simply could not hurt you. That is different." His voice boomed across the arena. "What we have witnessed today is not just a victory. It is a lesson. Sergeant Major has shown us that the most dangerous weapon is not technology. It is the mind and body working together. The hegemony does not know this, but we will teach them." He turned to Admiral. "With respect, Admiral, I recommend that combat training become mandatory for all coalition military personnel." Was silent for a long moment, then slowly he nodded. "The human has earned that right." And I walked off the arena floor together, supporting each other's weight. Behind them, a young recruit hurried to catch up. "Sergeant Major," he said nervously, "could you teach me? That block you did, the one that split the floor, how did you do it?" Laughed, then winced at the pain in her ribs. "That took me 20 years to learn, but yes, I can teach you. First lesson is free." "What is the first lesson?" Smiled at him. "It is not about strength. It is about knowing exactly where you are, exactly where your enemy is, and being willing to meet force with force." She paused. "Also, it helps to be a little bit crazy." The young considered this. "I think I can manage that." "Then welcome to the class." As they walked toward the medical bay, looked back at the arena. Thousands of aliens were still talking about what they had seen. Something had changed today. Something important. Humanity had a place in this galaxy after all. They just had to fight for it.